And now on Nights with Steve Price, the Courses and Careers Show with Danny Bielik. Thanks to Management Consultancy International. Go to mci.edu.au.
Danny's in the studio with us. Good evening to you, Danny.
How are you, Steve?
Just before we get into it, we have now had confirmed a window cleaner's been rushed to hospital after he fell 3 stories in the CBD. His age is not known. He was working on the Apple store on the corner of King and George Street, been taken to St Vincent's Hospital with pelvis, spine and head injuries. Work cover is investigating. Very nasty. You used to work for the current Education Minister, Adrian Piccoli.
That's correct.
I saw him on the front page of the Daily Telegraph today slinging pizzas.
As did I. Now, I understand he's not a bad chef.
Really?
So, yep. So, and I had to look very carefully.
Maybe he's a good chef because he spends a lot of his time in Italy, but he should be in Parliament.
Look, and the story in the Daily Telegraph today was about what they call the optics in the business, or what it looks like to the rest of the public. Here's a minister who has basically gone out and said to families of Australia, families of New South Wales, if you're going to take your child out of school for a holiday, don't do it during term time.
Don't do it during school time. So you've got set holidays. Take your holidays then. Don't sneak off on a Thursday to go on holidays for the next 3 weeks. Go when school finishes on the Friday.
Yeah, and look, I don't believe that it justified the front page of the daily newspaper today.
I thought it was delightful.
But at the end of the day, I mean, there aren't that many sitting days in New South Wales Parliament, to be quite frank, and it's not a good look. It does happen. All ministers do it. All MPs do it. Not a good look for Minister Piccoli
particularly
today.
When it's so hypocritical when he was lecturing other people about it. And that story, and I don't expect you to comment on this, Andrew Clennell, who's a very experienced reporter on our program on a regular basis, was making the point that the department's not running very well at the moment anyway. They're struggling to implement a new computer system.
Yep.
The schools are screaming that it's not working.
Yep.
And yet you've got the minister on annual leave in Italy. That's okay. You can go on holidays to Italy. I don't care. But you have to come back when Parliament sits.
Yeah.
I mean, if I hadn't come back Monday, I'd get dead air.
Jeez.
You can get an international flight that arrives on Sunday morning from Italy, go home and have a sleep and go to work.
Absolutely. Just like I'm expected to be at MCI and I'm expected to be here at 2GB on a Wednesday night. That's how it goes.
Unbelievable, really. So, Minister Piccoli, not a good look. Now, last week, and we're going to take some calls from people in a moment, I want to hear from anyone who's had one of their children go to university or start at university and drop out after year one. We've got some fairly alarming figures about university dropout numbers. I'm going to get you to explain why you think it's happening. But if your children have graduated from high school, thought it was a good idea to go in and try and get a university degree, and they've done 1 year and said, Mum, Dad, it's not for me, I want to go and do something else, that's not the end of the world. But I'd like to hear from you on 131873. Tell us why you dropped out, if you're listening yourself, or if Mum and Dad's listening, tell us why you think your child has dropped out. Now, we spoke last week about the difficulty small businesses have in hiring staff.
Correct.
I think we had Branca from
Branca, absolutely, from Barcino in Kirribilli, which
fine coffee.
Sounds like I'm going to have to go over there and give her a bit of a hand and to make sure that her coffee tastes all right.
Well, we were talking to her about how she'd had a whole bunch of unsuitable candidates turn up to apply for the job that she'd advertised on places like Gumtree and in the local paper.
Yep.
One guy turned up and his phone rang and he just ignored her and started taking the phone call. Another bloke's sipping on a milkshake. I mean, just unacceptable behaviour for a whole bunch of people. Well, she had found someone on the day that we decided to talk to her last week. I went and saw her the next day. He quit. He lasted 1 day.
Oh, dear.
And he quit because she asked him, when he prepares the food, if he wouldn't mind bringing it out so it can be delivered to the tables. He said, I don't leave the kitchen.
And this isn't exactly McDonald's. I mean, they don't have hundreds and hundreds of staff,
Branca's cafe is the size of this studio.
Yeah, so, and I think the problem here is that Branca had broken one of the fundamental rules that we spoke about last week on the Courses and Careers show, Steve, and that was build a pipeline. Particularly, so what that means is make sure that you've got backups, make sure that you've got extra people coming in. If you've got a new employee coming in and they are an unknown quantity, have other people sitting in the wings.
Have an emergency plan.
Absolutely, and so we've put Branca in touch this week with some of the phenomenal hospitality schools that exist not very far from her cafe, and I'm hoping that one of those two or three that I put her in touch with, and these are personal friends of mine who run the most outstanding hospitality schools, and some of these schools are some of the best hospitality schools in the world, Steve. There are students there who would happily have a job at somewhere like Brunker's Cafe, so I'm hoping they'll be able to help sort her out.
And she would have been unaware of that stream of potential employees.
Well, it's funny because she mentioned TAFE, and TAFE is one of a whole range of providers that are out there, and unfortunately, I mean, it's the first one that springs to mind. That might not have necessarily been the best fit for Brunker. We've given her a number of alternatives, and maybe we'll follow up with her and see if she's had more
so
luck
for people
next week.
listening to us who are in that similar industry business, catering, entertainment, providing food and coffee.
That's a really challenging industry because, I mean, these people are standing on their feet all day.
Yeah.
And I think, if you sit and watch MasterChef, it looks incredibly glamorous. And you get in there and it's early starts, it's standing on your feet all day, it's hard
Long
work.
hours.
It's cantankerous clients, do I need to say.
Long hours.
And long hours, absolutely.
And it can be repetitive and boring work.
Correct. Equally, for a lot of people, they find it incredibly satisfying. They enjoy being with food, they enjoy working with people, and they do it for decades.
So someone out there who's after staff like that, when you say catering colleges or what sort of organisations do you mean?
So there are hospitality schools,
so
for
there's
example.
one in Manly.
Yep, that's the International College of Management Sydney, which is the old monastery on top of the hill
Great
overlooking it.
facility.
It is the most beautiful, most
Nicole
amazing
Kidman
place.
got married.
I think so.
I know
there's the Blue Mountains International
It's also
Hotel
used
School.
in Baz Luhrmann's movie The Great Gatsby
There you go.
as the mansion.
There you go. And there's places that literally just teach cooking, like Evolution Hospitality School. So there's plenty of those sorts of providers around,
That's where you
and
need
a
to go.
lot of them have people who are dedicated to helping existing students find jobs. You need to find that person and give them a phone call.
46,200 students dropped out of their first year of university in 2013 at a cost to the community of $450 million. We're going to go into those figures in detail in a second. Siobhan first in the Hills District. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thanks. You dropped out or someone you know did?
I did. It was me. I've actually gone back now, but I first went when I was 17, and I lasted about a year and then left.
Yeah, huh?
In my opinion, it was just because there's such a big disconnect between the secondary school system and the university system. So,
Well, you're singing Danny's tune here.
Yeah, look, you're absolutely right. What did you look to study? What did you study when you first came out of school, Siobhan?
Business and commerce.
Mm-hmm. And what ultimately did you want to do? Is that what you wanted to do, or you felt that was the most practical thing?
A little bit of both. Yeah, always had an interest, but did see that we're a growing service industry country, so it would be handy to have a management kind of degree.
Siobhan, can I ask how old you are now?
Yeah, I'm 22 now.
Great.
So what caused the dropout at 18?
I don't know, maybe immaturity on my end, but I think as well because being used to being completely spoon-fed all the way through the HSC, and then you go to university and you're just out there on your own and, just kind of going as, you've got to figure it out as you go.
And when you say you went back, what did you go back to do?
The same degree, so I'm actually going to go finish it off.
Great, well done.
So you just felt that they weren't giving you enough help to get to the link between Year 12 and studying in a different way.
Yeah, and just way that
we're about
find it, but you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but this must be so typical, Danny.
It's a funny story, Steve. All those years ago when I first went to university, the first thing they do, the only orientation they do is that they gave you a blank sheet of paper, which was the timetable, and they said, go fill it out. And what sort of orientation did you get, Siobhan, when you walked in the front doors first day at university?
Oh, nothing like that, really. There's just a bunch of people handing out lollies now.
So
and they say figure out your own timetable and check back in a week and you can see if you've got into your spots.
So, Siobhan, I've got Lucy's doing Year 12. She's going to hopefully get an ATAR good enough to go to university next year. What would your one piece of advice to her be?
Oh, just read as much information as you can possibly find on your university site. So you need to go and go out, find all the information for yourself, and talk and ask a lot of questions, because sometimes the information isn't readily available for you.
And when your degree's done, you're confident you're going to get some work in that area?
Oh, I have no idea. Here's hoping.
How long you got to go till you finish it?
Oh, about 3 more years,
Okay.
part-time. So.
Right. If you need any help with part-time work, Danny's your man.
No, thanks, guys.
Good on you, Siobhan. Thanks for the call. 25 to 10.
You're listening to the Courses and Career Show with Danny Bielik. Thanks to Management Consultancy International. Go to mci.edu.au.
Danny's in the studio with us. We've got a 8HO, Alice Springs, listening to us tonight as well, as they do now each night.
Fabulous.
If you're in Alice Springs, I mean, I guess your choices go to Adelaide.
Yeah,
for university.
Well, or
is there
study
a university in Darwin?
Study on there's Charles Darwin University, which is a fabulous university up there in Darwin. I believe they have a branch campus in Alice Springs.
Yep.
Equally, study online.
That's
What's wrong with study online?
Nothing wrong with that at all. Marty, g'day. How are you?
G'day, Steve. How are you?
Good, thank you, Marty.
That's good, mate. Just wanted to share my opinion about people dropping out of uni in the first year. I myself graduated high school in 2006, went straight to uni, and also full-time work. I found it fairly difficult to juggle both, and I was enjoying work a lot more than studying. So I lasted a couple of semesters, dropped out. 9 years later, I've gone back to finish my degree because work-wise, I'm fairly happy how my career's going, and the next steps that I'd like to take career-wise, I'd like to have some sort of degree to kind of support my professional experience, if you like.
Well, you're singing Danny's tune there.
Yeah, look, Marty,
Perfectly what he's doing.
Absolutely. When you went back to university, did they recognise what you had done 9 years ago?
They certainly did, mate. They certainly did. But I've since decided to change what I initially started studying. But they do give you the option where you can carry over the credits that you've already accrued.
Yep.
Into what you decide to study years later.
So, Marty, what sort of degree are you studying?
I'm now studying a Bachelor of Business Administration. I'd like to then go into an MBA once I've got my undergrad finished.
Yep.
But my initial degree wasn't too different. I think Steve asked what advice the previous caller would have for anyone that's leaving school or looking to go to university. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be where I am today, and that's not to say I'm anywhere too special, but if I look at my peers that I graduated with, high school with, the ducks of the school, for instance, or the people that really excelled study-wise, they're really bright kids, but they're struggling to find work purely because they went into university straight away, no work experience, they're now qualified accountants or they've finished law school and that sort of thing, but they're not getting gigs in decent firms purely because they don't have the work experience to back them.
That's very good. Yeah, that's great advice. I didn't go to university. I went straight to work, so I'm not a great example. But you've got to combine both. And I think the most interesting thing you said there, Marty, and Danny nodded his head, was you were enjoying work more than you were enjoying the study. Now, after studying for 12 years in school, that's not surprising. Work's much more fun.
Absolutely, and you get a pay packet at the end of every week.
Exactly.
I mean, it's fabulous.
So what was the job you started when you dropped out of uni?
Well, mate, as soon as I finished school, I just started applying for work. I've been working since, just before the age of 15. But I went straight into a call centre, really. It wasn't a very flashy job, but most workplaces these days put their staff through training and courses and that sort of thing. The stuff that you learn on the job, I think it immensely outweighs what you learn in class.
And does it make
it's a lot more practical
life experience?
Does it make your study now? Is it more meaningful to you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you might be studying something in business, and they're talking about HR and HR policies, for instance, just examples. You actually know what they mean, and you actually know why you're learning this type of thing.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain to an 18-year-old. I would have been the same at 18. What does HR mean? Why is it important?
Exactly right.
I still don't know.
Just to wrap up in interest of your time, my advice would be to anyone that's leaving high school, go study. I'm not saying don't study straight away, but your work experience is definitely going to get you further, I think, in my personal opinion, than
All right,
than what
Marty.
you agree with.
Good call, mate. Thank you. Good luck with your study. Of these numbers of the 46,200, and these are 2013 figures.
Correct.
So it might even be higher.
It takes
now.
a long time to get these numbers out, Steve.
Swinburne University of Technology
Correct.
had the highest number of first-year dropouts. That's in Melbourne. Attrition rate of 28%.
Yeah. So Swinburne University, what you need to know about Swinburne University, they are a unique case in that they entered into a joint venture with SEEK a few years ago and created something called Swinburne Online. Swinburne Online is one of the largest components of the entire enrolment at Swinburne University. So that means that a huge number, a much more disproportionate number than other universities, students studying online. Online learners drop out. And I actually have a big problem with this word dropout, Steve, and I have a big problem with some of these numbers, because what it actually says is these are people who, we've got huge amounts of flexibility in our education system, much more than we ever had before.
Yeah.
As somebody like Marty that we just had on the line drops out and comes back, is that really a dropout? It's somebody who, made a mistake, came back and learned something. He will get the outcome.
That's a career decision.
But he'll get the outcome, and he got back the investment of the 2 units that he did. Same as Siobhan. And then if you've got somebody who decides later on they're going to change their qualification, so halfway through they decide that they're going to do business and now they're going to do IT, it's quite a smooth transition inside a university, but that's a dropout of one course and enrolling in another course.
David wants some advice from us tonight in Emu Plains. How are you, David?
Not too bad. I'm just in a position where I've got a sales role and a territory manager's role, and the guys that I've been working for aren't in New South Wales. So from a travel perspective, they don't understand how much petrol and tollways and things are going to cost to basically to work around Sydney.
Right.
And they're basically offering me like either 10 grand car allowance, or they're saying, hey, look, well, that's just claim it against your tax. And I'm really struggling to negotiate with them because they really don't understand that in Sydney you'll spend more on tolls than what you will on petrol and parking, what have you, and how in the final stages of negotiating a role, how you can tackle that.
Do they want the work?
No, I mean David's negotiating with his bosses to his salary package.
Oh, I see what you're
to
saying.
include
Correct.
his car, and they're not based in Sydney, so they don't understand the peculiarities of Sydney. How should he handle a negotiation like that?
Look, it is a very difficult situation. I think.
Where are they?
One's in Melbourne, one's in Brisbane.
So do you ever see them face to face?
Oh, I will every now and then, but essentially their view is that, one of them is, your travel's tax deductible, and I said, well, look, that's not realistic. So they've now offered me 10 grand, but I mean, I see competitively in Sydney it costs you between 15 and 20 grand to run a car as tool of trade. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you got maybe show them last 6 months of your credit card slip from the petrol station and the Holden dealership for the car service? I mean, it's very difficult. Tolls are massive in Sydney, and equally Sydney is geographically four times the size of the city of London. I mean, it's a massive city, huge sprawl. We've got umpteen CBDs, Chatswood and Hurstville and Parramatta. It's not like you just come into the city and all the work is done.
You'd reckon the Melbourne boss would understand it. I mean, what about inviting them to spend a day with you?
Yeah, that's maybe it. It's maybe.
And every time the toll goes beep, you go $4.50, $3.50.
Oh, $4.50. I wish it was $5.62 to come through the 800 metres of the Cross City Tunnel.
You're the only one who uses it.
It was a good run.
Just to get us across the line and to prove my worth, I'm thinking, well, hey, take the role and take the 10 and basically say to them, hey, in 6 months, I'll show you how out of pocket I am.
I think that's
if
smart.
I'm doing my job. If I'm doing my job, well, you'll give me the difference.
If you can afford to do that, I think that's smart, don't you, Danny?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hang on to the job, whatever you do. Don't let that go.
No, look, it's employment is becoming more tricky these days. So if you've got a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Good luck with that one, David.
Good on you, David. Thank you for that. Thank you for coming in and giving us advice tonight.
My pleasure.
I'll see you next week.
Fantastic.
I hope Minister Piccoli's back in Parliament tomorrow.
I'm sure he will be.
I bet hope he is. 12 to 10.